Good evening and welcome to Minority Caucus. WikiLeaks. And what are they saying? The Ghanaian sense of humor has already taken over. Some are calling the Wicked Leaks. But laugh or cry, I think we can't just dismiss it out of hand. Do we take the contents at face value? Believe everything, as some of the president's handlers will want us to believe now? Do we take hold of those making the assertions and say, justify what you've done? What do we do with WikiLeaks? Significantly, there are those who are saying that it's an opportunity to see how we mirror ourselves. That rather than trust each other, rather than forge a nationalist Ghanaian agenda, we are out there biting each other to foreigners. And then they take us out there and use the basis of our conjectures, rumors, half-truths, reputations, in quotes, naturally, which are impressions of other people that others have, or other events that others have, not necessarily facts, and use that to relate to us about our economy, about our finances, about everything else. Be that as it may, the bottom line is that we have to interrogate and we have to look at the other side of the picture. We can't afford to keep to only one side of the picture. And in that context, tonight, whilst we look at the political environment post-WikiLeaks, you can join me very quickly on text 1760, and please make a note of it, 1760, because we are not using the other line any longer. It's 1760. With me, Mr. Anthony Abeyi-Fakabo, National Youth Organizer of the New Patriotic Party. Tony, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Now, before I delve into I have copious cables in front of me, of course. Cables. 900 pages, I'm still trawling through. Before I delve deeply, your initial impressions?
Well, if you ask me, this is not the first time we heard about WikiLeaks in this country. The first one came up. We went over it. I thought we learned some lessons on how we're supposed to manage subsequent leaks that were coming from this, whistleblower network, or whatever you want to call it.
The media site.
Yes, media site. So I thought that we would have learned some lessons and be able to understand the context in which we must take these leaks that are coming up. And if you have gone through the leaks, I have taken my time to read all the cables, and I can tell you that these leaks have a potential to raise the temperature of this country ahead of the elections. And it's a duty for all political actors, it's a duty for all civil society groups, media houses, to exercise maximum moderation in dealing with these issues. But if we are going to have the selectivity, as has been the case in the media, where you have, depending on which party you belong to, you select what suits you and you run with it for propaganda purposes, then of course it would leave all of us jumping into the fray and making our own impressions out of it. I have a newspaper that seemed to have projected the flag bearer of my party, the man that many, even in the WikiLeaks, that say that there's a man who has the greatest support of young people, stronger appeal, charismatic leader, as a weed smoker. And I find it very preposterous. I find it very ridiculous and reckless in terms of journalism. But of course, if our friends have set up the stage, we are ready to flow with them, and we are prepared to meet them at every stage of the propaganda. And I can tell you, I do have here with me documents, hospital files of the president and his ailment. And we are going to delve more into those matters this evening.
You know, the president, in the cables, this is, I think, cable transmitted EO 12958. Yes, 1207. There are several different numbers on it, but this is one of the cables. And the president is said to have been very worried. Let me read this. President Mills, this is the summary from the Americans. President Mills also noted that he was very worried about the lack of information on Yar'Adua's health. This is Yar'Adua being the late president of Nigeria, Federal Republic of Nigeria. He expressed his fear that the vice president would be denied a constitutional transition and that the result could be instability and violence. He asked for any information Washington might be able to share on Nigerian President Yar'Adua's health. Ambassador told him he would relay the request. Mr. Cabo, this is a president who, from Ghana, requested the Americans to find out about the health of another contiguous country's president, and then immediately thereafter meets those self-same Americans and complains bitterly that his health is being politicized. What do we make of the president?
Well, I think that, first of all, from the leaks that have come, indicates clearly that President Mills is a perpetual liar. He's lied all through the process with his engagement with the Americans. He said terrible things you don't expect a certain president to say. When you look at the issues pertaining to the health of the president, and you go back into the cables, you'll find out that the president even lied about his health status to the American ambassador, where he said that his rampant trips to South Africa and China, ostensibly to have some checkups with respect to sinus infection, turns out from the America's own independent health officer's own assessment indicates that the president himself lied, and that radiotherapy, MRI scans were never any methods used in diagnosing sinus, but rather there was a problem with, in the president's own difficulties or his health status, is rather cancer of the throat. I do know from research, and I have a lot to show here, and I'm guess that as we get on, you will have some.
Yes, I thought you would let me read that bit of the leaks,
which is very important for our
we have 900 pages of this story to read, and if the president's handlers will want us to believe that everything in there is true, then we have to go in there and delve into these leaks as they stand. Now this one says, Mills acknowledged that his opponents continue to use the issue of his health for political reasons. He told the political chief in America that he had contracted a serious sinus infection, probably from swimming, which a Chinese doctor friend in Ghana told him could be diagnosed using an MRI. Since Ghana did not have MRI capabilities at the time, his Chinese friend encouraged him to get an MRI in China, which he did. The MRI confirmed his infection, which Chinese doctors claimed would have to be treated with radiation therapy. Mills said he did not want to have the treatment in China, which he was told would take 6 weeks. Instead, he sought treatment in South Africa, where his nephew lives. South African doctors confirmed the diagnosis and treated him with radiation in his nasal passages. As a result of the radiation and a sore throat from the therapy session, he was unable to eat solids for several weeks and lost significant weight, which he was warned would be an expected consequence of the treatment. He told the political chief he was pleased with his weight loss, which he maintains with dietary changes, and has fully recovered from the sinus infection. He is frustrated with the allegations that he has cancer, or the most recent allegation that he has had problems, and hopes these rumors will eventually die down. But then, listen to the American assessment,
which is quite telling.
It's amazing. Foreign Service Health Practitioner at Post notes that MRIs are usually not required to diagnose sinus problems unless a physician is concerned about tumors. He also notes that radiation therapy is not usually used to treat sinus infections. Usually, antibiotics or surgical repairs are used, but that such therapy is more likely used to treat some form of cancer. Foreign Service Health Practitioner is a physician assistant, not a specialist in the field. However, his medical observations point to a potential bigger health problem, as does the fact that to date, Mills has not made public any health records to dispel the rumors. Now, here we have a president who believes that the health of a president is important to the governance of his nation, who wants to see the medical records of another country's president publicly dealt with. And yet, he deliberately conceals the problem he has, throat cancer, in order to deceive the people of Ghana, and then conceals his health records from the people of Ghana. Syria line?
It is a difficulty I have, and that's why I kept saying in my opening statements that President Mills is a pathological liar and consistently had lied to the people of this country about his ailment. And clearly, in the run-up to the elections, you recall the fact that President Mills had occasion to come on radio to tell the whole country that it wasn't true, that he was sick, and all of that. If you look at how the Americans have concluded the ailment of the president, apparently it appears our president is sick of some disease or cancer that has got to do with the throat. And we all do know cancer of the throat has to do with people who are excessive smokers and chronic alcoholics. And we all do know that there have been rumors, okay? And as the WikiLeaks is full of many rumors, there have been rumors that the President John Evans Atta Mills, in his days as a lecturer, was a serial smoker and a chronic alcoholic. That could only inform his current ailment, which he feels so shy about to tell the people of this country, and persistently have lied and lied and lied to the people of this country, to the extent that he lied to the American embassy. And they found that if you, our president, will go and tell the American embassy to give you records about Yaradua's ailment, why are you not telling the good people of this country that you are not well? Why are you telling us about sinus infection when apparently it's about chronic throat cancer, which is as a result of excessive smoking and chronic alcoholism, which we've known the president with in his time past, okay? Then you will listen to the fact that it is not just only the ambassadors that found out about the president's health status. Even Baba Jamal in the WikiLeaks has been quoted as saying that, yes, indeed, the president has some form of cancer of the throat, and that it was gradually and he will recover quite quickly. So it is a subtle admission, and I'd love to employ you, if you have that particularly, to put it out about Baba Jamal and Ludwig and their own assessment about the president's own health status.
Apparently, Ludwig told the Americans that the president was dieting. And at some stage, the president told the Americans he was losing weight because he had quit drinking beer. He wanted to lose weight, and he had deliberately quit drinking beer. Meanwhile, he had also told them that it was possible that he had a sinus infection from swimming. Now, Baba Jamal then tells the Americans, listen to this, all our NDC contacts claimed Mills is in good health. Kloje said Mills was controlling his weight under doctor's orders. Jamal confided that Mills had some kind of throat cancer and said he was on the mend, although not yet fully recovered. Listen to this interesting consummate. In Ghanaian culture, a politician cannot admit to illness, so we should not expect Mills to be forthcoming on this, Jamal added. So Baba Jamal knew that the president had throat cancer and that they were actively concealing it from the people of Ghana. Let's take these text messages. WikiLeaks or no WikiLeaks? Nana-Addo all the way. This is Simon from Wali. And Ilyas Suharna from Tamale says, Yao, I'm marveled by the NDC's hypocrisy in this WikiLeaks revelations. The same NDC that believed in the cables that quoted Kwesi Pratt as saying he knew Nana-Addo ever used drugs are dismissive of the other portions of the cables, really, that quoted Fifi Kwete as saying that Muslims cannot lead this nation. They are also dismissive of the portions that quoted the president as saying that he knew some of his men were involved in the drug trade. Newton Ofe, Jastabeku, saying, we have a certain precedent that the same WikiLeaks says he has a throat cancer. I am a medical radiology professional, and for your education, cancer can also spread to every part of a person's body, including the brain, and render him/her delusional, hallucinating, and ultimately mentally deranged. And since our constitution debars persons with mental insanity to aspire to the presidency, It is therefore incumbent on us as a people to also comprehensively interrogate the mystery surrounding the health of Atta Mills. Atta-adoosi, I pray that our president heals soon. That's from Atta-adoosi. Now, we'll take our first break, and when we come back, we'll interrogate the issues of the serial lying and concealment of the president's real state of health from Ghanaians, because from the president's own remarks to the Americans about President Yar'Adua, he believes that a president's health is vital and necessary to the stability and governance of any nation. We'll take our first break. Welcome back. We are looking at the value of integrity, the ability to let the people of Ghana know who you really are, and whether hypocrisy will carry our governance as far as it ought to go. Let's look at a few pictures of the dead before and then now, and look at the medical situation. This was His Excellency President J.E.A. Mills in his heydays. Hale, hearty, juicy-looking, full head of hair. Fantastic looking, very healthy man. Let's see the next one. Now, this is His Excellency President Mills with very black palms. And then the explanations start flying from the castle. Please, slow down. We want to look at the previous picture first. Shall we look at the previous picture again? Yes. This is the picture where you have the black palms. And again, the culture of lying. Several aides came to tell us several things about these palms. But what we know is that it is a clear symptom as you grow older of abuse, drug abuse. Let's see the next picture. Shall we see the next picture? No, before. Picture 3. Yes, this is the picture of the throat of a person who has consistently abused smoking and has gotten involved in a situation where basically you have throat cancer. Throat cancer. Let's take the next picture. This is the president when in office. At the time, we were being told that he was hale, he was hearty, and there was nothing absolutely wrong with him. And you can compare this to picture 1. You can compare this to picture 1. And you can tell me whether the president is in a state where he desirably and personally wanted to be through fasting, through cutting down his weight, through quitting beer. This can only mean that the president is ill. And WikiLeaks is saying many, many things that the people around the president want to believe us to believe, and we are asking all of Ghanaians to also sit back and ask legitimate questions. Why are the president's handlers lying about his health? How is he coping with the governance of this country? Is he able to read effectively? Is he able to see effectively? Is he able to hear effectively? Is he able to communicate all the things that need to be done? And here we are asking these questions because WikiLeaks is fair game. Atwahoy, Mensah, they all came up with the business of hallucination, and we said, no, 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 we are Ghanaians. We don't go into that. We are civilized, cultured people. We take our time. But now, Mr. Kabo, it is important because, as you said, our research shows that excessive smoking and alcohol addiction lead to throat cancer.
Even the latest one that have been added to it is oral sex. You know,
oh, is that so?
Yeah, it's one of the major causes of that. And so, you see, we are now left in an open to ask critical questions. So therefore, are these the reasons why the president is hiding his ailment? Are these the reasons why the president doesn't want to come clean on his state of health? And why would the president consistently lie to the American embassy about his health status and be asking the people he's lying to find out about another president's health status? Look, let's be clear in this country that the health status of any person aspiring to lead this country or even president of this republic is a matter of grave concern. It's an issue, national security, because we want to be sure if the president is in this right frame of mind. We have also heard about the bloody clash in the NDC, this time not even through the WikiLeaks. It was live on radio for everybody to see and to hear that Mr. Herbert Mensah and his altercation with Atta-adoosi indicated that our president was mentally unstable, our president was hallucinating, our president was seeing people like trees, and our president is in a terrible state of mess in terms of his health status. And therefore, there was a need for a plan B. A plan B was to make sure that the president wouldn't continue beyond 4 years. However, all these issues have come. Mr. Atta-adoosi is not a small man in this country. If they want to say that Akufo-Addo, the rendition that Mr. Pratt gave to the embassy because his tightest friend or his long-standing friend is Akufo-Addo, can we therefore also take the rendition of Mr. Atta-adoosi and run with it and say that, yes, indeed, this president is mentally unstable, this president is hallucinating, and you have a hallucinating president, it must be only as a result of excessive smoking, alcoholism, chronic alcoholism, or some form of oral sex that are the reasons why people get throat cancer. So this is the kind of Pandora's box the NDC wants to open for us. And like I said earlier in my opening remarks, we are prepared to deal with this issue of the president's health because it is of great concern to the state.
You see, Mr. Kabo, the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana gives room for the people to be interested in the medical state of their president. The same Constitution is against lying. It's called perjury, as I believe.
That's right.
You can be impeached as president if you lie. Now, if we contextualize this, I believe the questions about the health of the president were raised from within the NDC themselves.
Absolutely.
When the president's contended that he's vindictively kicked out of the NDC, Spio sent a text message which was intercepted that the president was so ill with this cancer that he couldn't run the country. Thereafter, after the spat with His Excellency President Rawlings, it then comes out, and this is pre the election.
That's right.
That they knew that the president was so ill that it had affected his mental faculties. They knew before they put him on the people of Ghana, before they pretended and put him out there to campaign to win the presidency from the people of Ghana, that he couldn't govern because he didn't have his mental capacities in full. Now, fast forward to just before the election. You have NDC apparatchiks, NDC campaigners surrounding the president, telling the Americans things they will not tell us. You have the president himself being fully aware that he needs to be healthy to govern. And you have the apparatchiks telling the Americans, oh, well, he has cancer, throat cancer.
It's terrible.
But
it's
he will
really
govern.
terrible. I have here with me documents from the hospital that President Mills was, in South Africa, where it's a compilation of the status of the president, the health status of the president. And these are matters of grave concern, and it's important that we begin to look at some of those issues, the medication that he was looking at. If our friends on the other side want us to go into those issues, we are prepared to delve into that road, because they are delving into a road where they want Ghanaians to believe that indeed everything in the WikiLeaks is true. And so we are prepared to go with it.
It is not their prerogative.
Absolutely.
We must demand it.
That's right, because the
Constitution
state of the
demands it.
is key to everybody.
We must demand that the president comes clean with his medical records. The same way he felt that Atta-adoosi medical records should be disclosed to him. And Nigerian president's medical records, the president was interested in, according to WikiLeaks. It's in the record, 900 pages, and you will find it. Now, we, the people of Ghana, are saying, Mr. President, we have reason to be concerned. Because, Mr. President, we are worried whether you can appreciate the governance issues around you. Mr. President, perhaps the slowness of the government is because you are not in a position to manage, because you are not well. Mr. President, nobody has said that if you were well, you wouldn't be competent to manage the affairs. We are saying, Mr. President, that we Ghanaians deserve to know whether you are well enough to read, to write, to sign things, to appreciate what is happening around you, to manage your men, because we are also told that some vampires have taken you over and they want to rip us off out of our oil resources. But you came and stood before Ghanaians in Parliament and told us that you were personally going to be responsible for the oil money. We were going to take care of it.
But that brings me back to a very important issue. You will recall that during the NDC's own internal contest, one of the supporters of Nana Akufo-Addo Adjumaro had occasion to tell us that yes, indeed, the president was absolutely blind. And of course, it's somebody who's suffering from cancer. These are all the related ailments that it comes with. It bless your sight and all of that. And for me, it has been a long time. I haven't seen the president read from any script before. Lately, the president speaks extempore, and it brings a whole lot of issues. It brings a whole lot of issues about the fact that the president doesn't read extempore. And we want Ghanaians to understand that if indeed we are looking for a president who is healthy, who is hearty, there should be no difficulty with the fact that he should make his health status known to the people of this country. Let us know. Why are you lying to the embassies? Why are you lying in diplomatic circles about your status of your health? But the embassy, fortunately, through the WikiLeaks, is telling us that, yes, indeed, our president is suffering from throat cancer. It appears to me that we have a two-faced president. One, a good face to the people of this country, and a terrible one in his own party, where people are rushing to the embassy and telling the embassy that, yes, indeed, the president is not well, the president has some difficulties with his ailment. But every day, the handlers of the president keep telling us that this man is hearty and cool. But it's unfortunate. The pictures that we saw are clear indication that this man is not well. And of course, we all do know that, you know, the health status of anybody is not an issue we want to discuss in public. But not, of course, but even that
constitutional requirement.
But that's the point. That's the reason why we are having to discuss that. In Nigeria, they have been through the same process. Yar'Adua was concealing his health status until the unfortunate happened to him. It was a duty for the people of Nigeria to know the health status of the president. All these issues were raised ahead of the election, but they were ignored. Eventually, what did we see? We don't want to have a surprise in Nigeria, the kind of situation that Nigeria have been through, and so we demand that, yes, indeed, if WikiLeaks is anything to go by, as the NDC want us to believe, because all their apparatchiks and propagandists are saying that everything in here must be taken as the truth, nothing but the truth. So it confirms to us that, yes, indeed, our president is suffering from some form of throat cancer as a result of excessive smoking and chronic alcoholism, which we are being told that were date back from his days as a lecturer at the university. And so these are matters of national concern. People shouldn't misconstrue what we are doing. We are demanding questions, and these are legitimate questions that every Ghanaian wants to know. How would the president suddenly be speaking? It now brings back all these issues about the difficulty the president has in pronouncing words, which we once spoke about, and people thought we were trying to discredit the president. It appears to us that, indeed, that is as a result of throat cancer. You mumble in your speech, and all these things. Hallucinating can be as a result of many other things. You could be taking narcotics. You could be taking some form of drugs to hallucinate.
And for smoking, it could mean anything.
It could mean anything. So we are even worried to find out what kind of smoke does the president use to take, and we are going to investigate that. But for me, the health records of the president that I have here are enough to tell me and confirm that this man, President Atta Mills, once used to be a chronic smoker and, of course, also a chronic alcoholic for that matter. And these are issues that are left to the public, and we are prepared to interrogate these issues.
Let me take these text messages. This one says, "Hi, Tony." Obviously, that's to you. Please, if NDC is focusing on alleged weed smoking, then the communicating team should also focus on Atta Mills' lung cancer. Somebody thinks he has lung cancer. According to the WikiLeaks, that cancer is caused by excessive smoking and drinking and people who engage in oral sex. Does the president smoke weed? A drunkard and oral sex addict? That's a question. Nana, you will win and the NDC will cry. Nana, you are the best. This is Fatih Malik from Amobi. The NDC government should redirect their energy in addressing the mounting social needs of Ghanaians and not WikiLeaks. That's a good one, Simon from Wale Wale. The followers of NDC are feigning naivety. Let them know for sure that the nemesis of their naivety will catch up with them come 2012. The evil that men do surely lives with them. This is Steve Douglas. Whether the NDC likes it or not, Nana-Addo is our next president from Benanim in KJB, Akan. Let's take another, no, this one. Let me take this one last. This text message, yeah, go up. Nana-Addo should just forget about being a president Ghanaians are very okay with President Mills. This is Nana Kwesi from Kumasi. Very well. We'll take our break here, and then we come back and continue this discussion. Welcome back. We are looking at the political environment post-WikiLeaks. It's a very sensitive time we are all in. Our position is that we have to be careful how we deal with these leaks. If you have selective positioning, well, some of it ought to be taken as gospel, and then front page newspaper articles are concocted and delivered, and then others have to be dismissed, then it puts us all in a very difficult situation. As the Ghanaian has begun to say, WikiLeaks, do you laugh or cry? Now, give me this last picture, and let's look at the theme of this administration that we've had over time. You can see the president speaking during the campaign, and look at his finger. There's plaster on his finger, and there's a strange black ring on his finger, and his wedding ring is missing. Incidentally, the picture 3, which had a cigarette in somebody's throat, is not that of His Excellency the President. That was just a realistic situation medically. I am pointing you out to this picture of His Excellency President Mills during the campaign. And you can see clearly plaster on his finger and a black ring there. What does this tell us? After this ring came out, there were many stories issuing from the castle, different spokespersons saying different things. But bottom line, what does this tell us? This tells us about a man who decided to become religious to self-preserve. A man who decided to go miracle seeking, not only to preserve his health, but also to push an electoral agenda. A man who seeks to come across to Ghanaians as being deeply and fundamentally extremely religious, only not to be able to explain to us why he drops his marital ring and wears a ring that is so hot that he has to wear a plaster on it to campaign. When that matter was raised, we all remember the lies that emanated from the castle. We are trying to point out a serial culture of lying, lying about literally everything that comes from the castle. President lied about his ring. He lied about WikiLeaks when WikiLeaks came, when WikiLeaks first came. And the president had confessed that he knew for a fact that members of his administration had been compromised in the drug trade. His Minister of Information came out to deny it flatly. Today, his handlers expect us to accept WikiLeaks in full. Recently, we've had lies about a so-called mansion that had been acquired, to the extent that the president's handlers have been challenged to tell us whether or not the documentation they produce as alleged were not forgeries. They are yet to address that matter. The culture of lying about everything that comes out of the castle is what WikiLeaks is telling us about this presidency that we have. Mr. Kabo, serial lying.
It's very interesting. And I think that the WikiLeaks has told us everything. If you look at I mentioned to you that the first person to deny the story in WikiLeaks in Ghana, the first edition that came out, was President Mills himself. Instructed his Minister of Information to issue a statement indicating that that government of Ghana has become aware of reports in the press of purported leaked diplomatic cables on Ghana. The government of Ghana would like to reiterate, for the avoidance of doubt, that the president's-led administration remains committed and unwavering to the fight against narcotics, regardless of the threats that the leaks pose to this fight. Despite the challenges inherited, the government of President Atta Mills will relentlessly continue with this fight and will ensure that the Narcotics Control Board receive continuous support, evidence of the historic increased budgetary allocation to NACOP, and that the process to elevate NACOP into a stronger independent commission, which is at a very advanced stage. Now, if you go back into the leaks, you'll find Akrisi Sapon, who is the chief executive of NACOP, who continuously tell Ghanaians that this government is done so much for NACOP, telling the embassy that indeed all the things that the president had been saying was just mere rhetoric, but that the NACOP was heavily underfunded, NACOP is heavily under-resourced, NACOP lacks the specific capacity in terms of equipment and retooling and all of these things. So how do you reconcile these two statements by the man in charge of NACOP and also by the so-called commitment of the president? When the president allowed himself to be said, we said this is just empty rhetoric. Take concrete steps at dealing with these matters. We have still seen the drug trade going on in this country. We are aware of series of arrests at the airport which they are concealing from the media. And then these are issues we are going to come up with, because we want to understand, is the frequency of arrest at the airport a symptom of government efforts in dealing with the drug trade, or it means that there is complicity in terms of our security at the airport, or it also means that government officials are involved in the drug trade? Because I seem not to understand the logic that is being at play at this juncture. However, there are quite important issues about lying, and that's why when we say that Atta Mills is a pathological liar, continues to lie, a two-faced man who suddenly has assumed the reins of power in this country, it's important that Ghanaians get to know who he is and what he's made of. This is the same president who told us about his God-fearing attitude and that he is the man who can unite this country, goes to the American embassy and preaches nothing but tribal sentiments, goes to talk about the fact that the Kufuor administration is pursuing a greater Ashanti agenda. What does the president mean by that statement? How can our president, the man who wants to lead this country, the Ashantis are a valuable resource in our country, the people are wonderful people, go to say that a particular president is pursuing a greater Ashanti agenda? It only goes to confirm the statements he made at Mori when he was addressing the Fantis and saying that Kufuor would pay little attention to the fishing community because he comes from the Ashanti region, and there is no sea and no livelihood for people around those areas, and therefore he was not somebody who was concerned about their predicament. You have such a person leading this country, telling the embassy about a greater Ashanti agenda. We want the handlers of the president to come and clarify what they mean by that. Quite recently, when our flag bearer held a lecture, a liberty lecture on the day of Eid, what didn't we hear from the NDC apologists? They came out bastardizing and insulting the MPP and his flag bearer for holding lectures on that same day. Fifi Kwete went to the embassy to run his mouth, usually his normal propaganda, to tell the embassy staff and the ambassador about the fact that the party was going to choose John Mahama, justifying why John Mahama has been chosen, who is not a Muslim, because he was asked a direct question, why is the NDC not going with the Muslim community? He said, no president can ever be, no Muslim can ever be elected to the presidency. And I'm very worried because I keep asking the same question. Why is it that Christians in this country will expect that right from Nkrumah's days, consistently Muslims should continue to vote for Christians to ascend to the throne as presidents, and we think that a Muslim can never be president? When you compare these two parties, it comes to one conclusion. The MPP has been very consistent with Islam right from 1992. We have always selected a running mate, a Muslim and a Christian, to make sure that we have balance and cohesion among the Muslim communities in our country. Yet still, the NDC gets majority and a chunk of its support from the Muslim communities. Here, the Muslims should come out and tell us if they are happy with the statements that Fifi Kwete has made to the embassy. Fifi Kwete told the embassy that Northerners and Muslims can never ascend to the throne of presidency in this country, largely because of their religion. Yet still, our Muslim brothers continue to vote and block for the NDC. You begin to ask questions about credibility. You begin to ask questions, why is it that Christians hate Muslims so much, according to Fifi Kwete? Why?
Wicked leaks indeed. Lied and divisive politics galore. Now, let's take this bit of advice. This one says, these WikiLeaks and hospital files won't win you any vote. Stop this childish politics and address proper issues. Eric from Kumasi. MPP will win come 2012 from Joseph Atwere in Donkokro. The MPP bigwigs must be very careful of their relations with Kwesi Pratt. Thank you. MPP is the party that is good for Ghana. Cabo, I need your number. This is Dida from Odumasi Krobo. MPP is a party That is good. Yeah, that's Dida from Odumasi Krobo. I'm proud of you, Anthony. We need young men like you who are bold enough to speak. Keep it up. Kwesi Eboa from Achim Abakwasi. Politics of our time, I must say, is really dirty and senseless. Senseless. Is this what our forefathers fought for? I can really feel the cry of the big six in their graves, especially in Kroma, saying, oh my Ghana, look at what they have turned it into due to their own selfish needs. Since when did personal life issues and affairs become a matter of public discourse when people are still struggling from hand to mouth? This is from Kwame in Koforidua. Kwame, this is what Wicked Leaks has brought us to. These are the men we want in the MPP cabo. Keep it up. Boss, the leaks are to derail us as a nation. The motive is for the oil. Temperature will rise. We will fight, and they will step in as usual and do what they like best, just like they've done to the Libyans now. Herbert is very worried. We'll take a last break. When we come back, you can join us on the phone lines, and let's not make any mistake. As somebody said, depending on how we handle these leaks, they can set this nation alight. Brother against brother, sister against sister, party against party. Please, religion against religion. Ethnic politics, the kind of ethnic politics that we've dredged out of the leaks emanating from the NDC's leader and president of this country is so bad, is so nauseous, that we are very careful how far we want to go. But engage us. You are Ghanaians. Tell us, what do we do with the leaks? When we come back from the break, we want you to tell us, what do we do with the leaks? We'll take our break. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. Tonight, we have had the difficult duty of trying to skirt the leaks and still dip our toes and fingers in to see how far it will go, whether it's as hot as it's likely to be. 900 pages worth of revelations. What do we as a nation do? Join us, 0302 211 701 702. 0302 211 701 702. Now, perhaps it's not for nothing that the president's government is struggling, because according to the leaks, the then majority leader, Alban Bagbin, and the general secretary of the party believe that the president has surrounded himself with inexperienced advisors who are providing poor counsel and are failing to ensure interministerial coordination. Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
good evening.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. This is Aziz Danlakoran from Wa.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. What I just want to say is, looking at things, the way people are just talking, I like it, but it's more or less like you people are doing negative propaganda. Because looking at things, Professor Mills is uncomparable. Now you people are now trying to use what Nana Akufo-Addo is doing, so that you just match it with Atta Mills. It will not match. Come 2012, Ghanaians will judge. Professor Mills is the best, and he will continue to be the best. You people, what you are doing is pure negative propaganda, and we Ghanaians are watching what people are doing. Come 2012, we are not going to do anything than voting Professor Mills. Whatever pension people are going to pension with the presidency. All the best.
Thank you. Let's take the call from Yendi.
Hello, y'all.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I'll just take it from where the last caller said. He said negative propaganda. What is negative propaganda? If we are going to talk about negative propaganda, that was exactly what the NDC did in 2012. And if they were rewarded for that, I think, hallelujah, we are going to continue with the negative propaganda so that in 2012 we shall also be rewarded by the good people of Ghana. Let's come to talk about WikiLeaks. Hello, am I online?
You are definitely online, sir.
Good. Let's come to talk about WikiLeaks. I think it's very, very unfortunate. And so, if we begin talking about WikiLeaks, we become very, very passionate about it. And I think it's high time Ghanaians look at issues as they are and stop looking at things in a very different way. Look at the issues that are unfolding, and I think it's very, very sad. But I just want to address a particular issue, basically about Cabo.
Hello?
Yes, we are listening, sir.
Yeah, he made mention of Atta-adoosi giving some amount of money to Mr. Ben Essen, which Atta-adoosi refuted on my Joy FM this evening. If you can put that in context, I will be very, very grateful to hear. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Amadou, Wale, let's hear you. Very well. Listen, we have to be very clear. Propaganda, if it's negative, means half-truths that you pump out consistently for people to believe. Let us be clear. We are quoting His Excellency President Mills, telling the Americans he has a sinus problem. And the Americans telling him back in Washington and themselves that he has throat cancer. Bilal, let's hear you from Techiman. Hello? Hello? You're on air.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much. I think you be having a very wonderful program, and I really enjoy it. But I think we must be realistic. You understand? Because politics today, we need to, hit the areas that will, ensure that our economy will see the light, rather than, talking about certain issues that will even the young ones that are coming up, we are trying to put certain things in their mind so that it will affect the future political arena in our country. I think it's very better for us to just talk about issues that will see the development of the country rather than the propaganda act and wherever. Because if you look at the gesture of Anthony Kabu, you could see that he really, come out to propagate and then try to do certain things that people will see NDC to be evil, which is, I think, is very wrong to do that. People will love NPP or NDC, not the kind of dirty words that will be putting to the eyes of the people or to the ears of the people who are allowed to come into power. But we are matured now. People learn how to, analyze issues and come.
Moses from Napanduri. Moses, are you there?
Yes, I'm on land. Good evening, Mr. Yao.
Evening, Moses.
Yeah, we are begging you for both NPP and we are begging you for this, what we are doing. It will create a tension in Ghana which we cannot handle. So we are begging you. That's what I have for you to do.
Interesting. You can sense that WikiLeaks on a continuous basis fed into the Ghanaian system drip by drip by drip will turn the situation to something else. So we have been advised, both sides, not to go this route. And that is why tonight we are telling you the other story. They are telling big stories. They are using WikiLeaks selectively. And I can assure you, they are doing a lot of propaganda. You advise us in the minority to go ahead and deal with the issues of the day. And therefore, we will try our very best. But then, maybe I'll let Mr. Cabo have a few words whilst I read the rest of my...
Let me just do that quickly. I want people to know that the time when our flag bearer was, has been asking us to hold our horses with respect to matters about the president's health is over. We are not interested in that anymore. And we want to show you a picture of the NDC newspaper in which they have depicted Nana Akufo-Addo.
That's the Informer.
The Informer newspaper.
Reputedly written from the castle.
Yeah, as smoking what? So please, people should look at this. We are not here today to do what is wrong.
So bad.
We are here to quote from the documents, what is being put out there. So
this
please,
is a rendition of what Kwesi Pratt is supposed to have said in WikiLeaks.
In WikiLeaks.
Is this proper? Is this journalism? And is the president aware that these newspapers are being published from his table?
I want to make a one-make statement that the days when Akufo-Addo will tell young people in the MPP to stop is over. We have taken it upon ourselves and we'll take the fight to the end.
President Mills, tonight is very engaging, very interactive. WikiLeaks is at work. President Mills is not only a liar, but a big pretender. That's Jiga from Wa. Mr. Cabo, you are very good. Keep it up. That's a BC Aka from the BNE. The wind of change has started blowing against NDC, NPP all the way. But Fifi, the least we Muslims talk about him, the better. All politicians should be very, very careful. Yeah, I'm so proud of you. Keep the fire burning. Nana all the way from Ralph in Pandai. Yeah, I thought MPP will stop this because it failed you in 2008. Ask the NDC. My brothers, if you want something and you do not respect it, you will not get it. So MPP, you will not get power with this posture. That's Tuka from Tamale. Very well. So we on.
Let me just one. We haven't even come to the hospital medical documents. We're yet to open them. So there are a lot of issues. People should take their time because there are huge issues in this document that we are yet to make available to the Ghanaian public, talking about the state of the president, his mental stability, the fact that he hallucinates. Everything is being captured in these documents. We haven't even gotten there yet. These are documents from the medical center where he was in South Africa.
The key question arising tonight is that WikiLeaks exposes the presidency, the NDC presidency and government as serially, consistently lying to Ghanaians about the true state of affairs, especially the health of the president. And the president himself, from his posture of the Americans vis-a-vis President Yaradua, the late President Yaradua, admits that the health of a president is crucial to the peace and stability of a nation. Why is he hiding this from Ghanaians? Why are they consistently lying about so many things to Ghanaians? Next week, we will continue to explore the ethnic agenda, the bias, the bent towards ethnicity that the president exhibits in the WikiLeaks. We hope we can continue to be civil to each other. We hope the president will call a ceasefire. Indeed, we expect it of him as a leader, because it is important that we preserve the sanity of this nation and make the campaign as clean as possible. Minority Caucus will try to make sure remains about you. Good night, and thank you for engaging us tonight.